Luckily, some recorded history has survived. We know that in 534 BCE, an actor named Thespis stepped out of the chorus during a Dionysian theater festival contest and spoke lines as though he was a specific character. We don't know which character, we don't know exactly how he did it or what he said, but all other theater at the time was simply groups saying the same thing at the same time. Thespis stepped forward and said something like, "Listen to me, I am Agamemnon." At that moment, he became the first actor. That is why we refer to actors as thespians. The year and his name are known, along with the winners of many of the Athenian Dionysian festivals for a couple hundred years, because they were written in stone, literally, and we found the stones. We know that three playwrights, Aeschylus, Sophocles, and Euripides, won the contest a lot. Aeschylus won at least 14 times between 499 BCE and his death in 456 BCE. Sophocles won the festival at least 24 times between 468 BC and his death in 405 BCE. Now, it should be noted that Sophocles lived to be 90 years old. We don't think of ancient people living that long, but the quality of life in Athens at this point was quite good. Euripides won the festival 5 times between 455 BCE and his death in 406 BCE. The works of these three men greatly influenced the Romans, who stole their plots and stole their storylines and altered them to suit Roman audiences. In turn, in Renaissance Europe, playwrights looked to these Roman plays, which greatly shaped Renaissance plays. Shakespeare directly stole some of these plots from the Romans, who stole them from the Greeks. And this continues today. Many playwrights and filmmakers steal from Shakespeare. You can begin to see the connection from Homer, who influenced the Greek tragic playwrights, who influenced the Roman playwrights, who influenced the Renaissance playwrights, including Shakespeare, still influenced today. From 534 BCE, for a couple of decades, there was only one actor, and the chorus in a play. Euripides added a second actor. This development led to dialogue. Sophocles, not to be outdone by Euripides, added a third actor, and you could now have intrigue. Actor A can say to actor B, "Hey, let's gang up on actor C." The only other playwright from ancient Greece that should be noted is Aristophanes. He was known as a comic playwright. He wrote Lysistrata, which I mentioned earlier, the play about women refusing to have sex with their men until the men stopped going to war. He was a writer of what is known as Old Comedy. Old Comedy satirized the role of government in people's lives. New Comedy found comedy in human relations. New Comedy was written in part as a response to the government changing to a type that didn't like to be made fun of. This is an early and not the last example of theater responding to political and social change. Here's a thing I have wondered about. We really don't know much about these playwrights' bodies of work. We know that Aeschylus wrote at least 81 plays, but only 7 of them have survived. Sophocles wrote at least 123 plays, but only 7 have survived. Euripides wrote at least 92 plays, and we only have 18 of them. And only 11 of Aristophanes' plays have survived. We revere these plays, but what if they aren't the best examples of these playwrights' work? All theater and literature in the Western world might be based on less than the best. It should also be pointed out that the best examples of plays we have are from the early and mid-400s BCE. But the oldest theater remains are from 200 to 300 BCE. They survived because they were completely made of stone. Excavation has found the remains of wooden structured theaters, but other than these remains, we really don't know what the theaters looked like when Aeschylus, Sophocles, Euripides, and Aristophanes were writing. One more thing on Greek theater. They gave us a literary device that was named for a piece of stage machinery. Deus ex machina, which means God from the machine. This was a crane that could fly or lower an actor onto the stage. Their purpose was to be a god who solved the unsolvable situation that humans had gotten themselves into. This device, this literary device, is still used today. One of the most obvious is The Wizard of Oz, when the good witch floats in on a bubble and solves all of Dorothy's problems. But TV melodramas use it in a more subtle way. It is not uncommon in Law and Order for the case to be unsolvable until, at the last second, some piece of evidence or a witness falls into the detective's lap. Okay, let's switch to Roman theater. According to legend, Rome was founded in 753 BCE by the twin brothers Romulus and Remus. If you're good with dates, you'll notice that is about the same time that the cities in Greece were starting to rise out of the Dark Ages. But as a civilization, Greece developed at a much faster pace. By 509 BCE, Rome had become a powerful republic, with elected officials representing the people. At this time, any kind of theater in the Roman Republic was more a type of variety acts with skits and music and dance and acrobats, jugglers, trained animals, and athletic events. There wasn't any scripted theater. They simply weren't familiar with the concept. Romans weren't great innovators. Rome developed chiefly through assimilation. They were like the Borg on Star Trek. When Roman conquered other territories, they took the knowledge and advancements of the other cultures and brought them into their own. It wasn't until 240 BCE that Rome had conquered enough areas with Greek theater to become familiar with scripted theater. By 240 BCE, the variety act type of theater that had been popular in the Roman Republic had been replaced almost entirely by scripted type of theater assimilated from Greece. It was then 100 years later that Rome had conquered all of the Greek-influenced world, bringing an end to the civilization that brought us the first great period of theater development in the Western world. The Romans changed the actual physical structure of theaters as well. What started out in Greece as a circular playing area with the audience seated on hills developed slowly into more and more permanent structures. By the late Hellenistic period, which is what the last period of Greek development is known as, the circular orchestra was now a large U, and the primitive scena had developed into a full facade. The Romans then took this even further. They moved the facade towards the audience, making the orchestra a half circle, and they made the scena extremely elaborate and decorative. As was stated earlier, all of Greek theater was associated with religious events. Chiefly, that was the festival of Dionysus. Roman theater was also associated with religious festivals, the ones that honored Roman gods. But as the Romans conquered new territories and assimilated these new cultures, they also assimilated these cultures' gods. In 240 BCE, when Rome became familiar with Greek theater and had started doing scripted theater, they too had only one large religious festival a year. By 146 BCE, when they had conquered all of the Greek-influenced world, they were up to 25 festivals a year where theater was shown. As Rome continued to conquer more and more of the known world, they continued to add gods, which meant they continued to add festivals, which meant there was more and more theater. By 354 CE, about 125 years before the fall of Rome, almost half of the year were festival days. 100 of those festival days were for theater, and 75 of them were for chariot events and gladiatorial contests, the latter often being a type of theater.